Welcome, Paulina. I'm going to give you a word. We are very excited to actually have you today here to talk about law in art, but I'm going to just give you a word and feel free to just share your knowledge with everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you again, and good evening, everybody. And I am really delighted that we are able to finally meet successfully. And above all, I would like to also thank Victoria for the introduction and for the invitation our gallery to this drawing project. And we're happy to contribute in this Erasmus project. Yes, and I prepared the presentation for you. So I put the information that you could use one, and probably I will try to share with you with this presentation now. And I will start my meeting with you. Okay, great. So let's start to talk about the art and the law in art, actually. So as you can see, my presentations look like that. And our meeting, I think, will proceed this way, that I will present you the information that I thought might be useful and essential here. And after that, at the end, we just thought about sometimes for questions and answers. If you had one, if you have any serious problems, you can also contact me after the meeting anytime. I put it some seminar calendar here, so we could just notice where we are right now. So basically, we are in the middle of this year of the seminars that are scheduled somehow in this year. And before I start, this is my little disclaimer here, that my material that I proposed today and that I worked out for you today should not be taken or construed in any way as a legal advice, of course. And if you need any legal assistance, just need to contact a qualified legal attorney. That I will tell you about myself also in later time. And what I mentioned you that I propose for today's meeting, I put here as stone, let's say, topics. I thought that these areas are most useful and should be are worthy mentioning here during our meeting. So I propose you to discuss a little bit, and I would like to share some information with you about the artist rights as an example of intellectual property rights and general legal legislations regarding IP. And also I will talk a little bit about the forms of IP. In a few words, I would discuss with you the artist's duties and the basic checklist of obligations. And I will tell you also a little bit about the art contracts, regulations that are typically applied. And at the end, a few words about infringement of laws of artists and also the possible remedies. I'll give my introduction again, maybe some wider one. As Victoria said, I am representing the GJW Gallery, Beautiful Gallery. We came from Poland and we are active here, but we also do the international cooperation as well. But what is most important information is that I am combining the activity around the JW Gallery with my everyday profession, that is a legal profession. I am the attorney at law, and I'm giving the legal services to my clients, also that are the artists. And this project with gallery is my, let's say, second project that I'm working on during the days. And what we wanted to do with the Victory Art, we as a gallery, we are the partner in this common project, as I mentioned. And as I understand the whole project, what we would like to do during these meetings or speeches or contacts, we just want to facilitate the navigation to the art industry. And making a step forward, what to, telling you or showing you what is the DJW Gallery, Geotvo Gallery. We are the joint project of the law firm that I introduced you, that has the same name, actually, and Igor Morski, that is the Polish artist. He's a graphic designer and a press illustrator. Yeah, and we cooperate for a couple of years. We know each other for many more. And we created the gallery. It's basically the online gallery right now, but also we try to promote and sell his piece of arts that are real, and we also put it in the galleries and in other places. So feel free to visit us on www.GJW Gallery and try to search or browse any information that you might or find interesting. And generally, the gallery is a place when we present and show the works in the climate of surrealism or even hyperrealism that, as I heard, lately is quite popular right now. This is quite popular part of the art, especially in Poland. And generally, works of Igor Morski are associated with conveying a hidden message. So he is telling you, or he is telling everybody he is giving some information in his works. You can find it there. And well, just thinking about our cooperation, in the meaning the legal company and the legal firm and the artist, I would say that it giving the advantages and opportunities for the artist, but also for the lawyers, I guess, because this is also the opportunity to promote and sell, but this is also the full protection of the rights of the artist. I mean, when the lawyer is taking care of the business of the artist, but also for the lawyers, it's especially one that likes to be active in some other areas and only the law, and are sensible for the art. It's the great opportunity to also to be active in this artistic world. And okay, so starting giving you the certain information about law and art, I would like to say at the beginning about the artist's rights. And I guess the best example of the artist's rights are the intellectual property rights. And talking about generally about law and art, I just might stress out and point out that I am not working I am working in a specific jurisdiction that is Polish one, but preparing the information for you for today's evening, I might give you the general and basic hints or directions that you should go, but I'm not, giving you a certain or specific information what kind of rights will be available in a certain legislation. So let's talk in general. So intellectual property is an umbrella of a term that for the group of legal monopolies covering intangible property associated with a human creative activity. Okay, so that's the definition. And generally the IP laws deals with the law that protects and enforce rights of the creators of any piece of work, really every kind, and also the owners of invention. So there are several areas of intellectual property, and three, let's say, primary types are the patents, or copyrights, and trademarks. Also, we could discuss about the trade secret, about the industrial property rights, and all these areas and types of laws deals with the different purposes. So focusing on intellectual property legislation, we might say that, yeah, and I said it before also, I mentioned that, laws vary, of course, vary between countries and across the European Union and even across the world, and this is quite obvious. And just many countries have laws that are pretty similar to each other, especially when we are in a group of let's say countries that has similar legal system. But in many respects, the details may vary significantly. So generally, the forms of intellectual property rights are more or less mentioned in every national law. I'm pretty sure that this area of law is just covered by your national legislation, and also the European Union legal system and global treaties work somehow with this definition of IP rights and regulate it in a certain way. And we had a huge European Union achievement regarding the copyrights. I just found 14 directives that are established for this area. So, focusing on this particular area of intellectual property, right? We want to talk about the copyright. So this is as I mentioned, most popular form of intellectual property, right? And basically, it's an exclusive legal right for authors who create the original work, which allowed them to protect the creative work, such as any kind, painting, design, music, writing, any other activity in this art field. And it's allows them to protect their work in a specific period of time, of course. And generally, this protection is available for both published or unpublished works, anything just that is tangible and that has been created actually by a man. So copyright is an asset, okay, with a value. So in the result is observed by, as I said, most countries, any national jurisdiction probably taking care of this, and worldwide requirements in this matter apply. So the basic thing is just treat everybody the same, and every country. Generally, copyright means that the artist has a right to be recognized and listed as the author of his work, particular piece of work, and not others. So I want to show everybody that I created this piece of art. And generally, I would say generally, the copyright cannot protect the concept or idea that it's in someone's head and that do not have a tangible form. And you can have an idea for painting, but you cannot copyright it until you produce it. So copyright protection begins when work is finished in a fixed and tangible form in most regulations. And generally, no registration is necessary, but it's possible in some national treaties. In some countries, it's possible. America, I guess. And when work was created jointly by a couple artists, 2, 3 more of them, all are co-owners of the copyright unless any other thing or otherwise will be specified in the agreement or in this contract between, for example, the artist. And in the case where an artist has created the work while being employee, the employer is considered as the owner or the author of the copyright holder, and is the copyright holder basically. And it is working like this in Poland. Probably it's working similarly in different countries. The mere ownership or transferring of a painting, drawing, or any other work of art does not convey the copyright, and also does not mean that you can change the material object that was once created. So when you're transferring the ownership, doesn't mean that you can change anything in this kind of work, in a piece of work. And generally, the copyrights can be transferred and be licensed to third parties for the purposes that will be established between the parties, of course, within the specific terms. The best situation is then when you put the transfer in the paper, but I'll talk about these conditions a little while later. And copyrights continue for the specific period of time after death. Of course, the term of copyright protection vary from a country to country and is determined by the national legislation. But yeah, it's the general rule, I guess. Okay, so what are the other competence available to the artist? Except the copyright is also the resale right. So that stipulates that artists may financially participate in the commercial resale of their original works of art. And in this right was also harmonized by European Union legislation. We had like resale rights directive. Rights of publicity. And this refers to an individual's exclusive right to authorize how the name or voice or signature or image may be used in order to use an artist's name, signature, in advertisement, for example. This is the artist's rights of publicity, and that must be cleared with the artist. And also we have like moral rights that are the rights of an artist, and they maintain the integrity of work and also reflect a personal interest in the work, and usually are attributable only to the author. Usually, for example, in Poland, like copyright, such right cannot be transferred to another party. So I can transfer my, like, say, material copyrights, but I cannot transfer my moral rights that are always with me, as far I am the author of the piece of art. And okay, other artist duties. I just prepared and made some basic checklist for you. This is the checklist of obligation, let's say, maybe the hints that could be helpful or useful in this art business. And before I started this part of speech, I will just mention about the pictures that are showing you in this presentation on the right side of the presentation. These are all the pictures of Igor's works. So I just put his name and the date and the year of creating the work. But yeah, just you can have a quick revision of this kind of art. So talking about artist duties, the most obvious, I guess, is that you should, like in every other activities in life, just educate yourself, okay? So when you start activity or a business in this legal area, just make sure that you know the legal aspects and understand them, okay? So you understand your rights and obligations, you as an artist under the law. And you can basically protect yourself by having a contract with the third parties. And when you are entering in such a contract, whether it is explicit, which means written down, or implied, so that understand that not only the legal details, but also other arrangements are essential and are important. So I advise clients to just be somehow common with the paper that my clients just wrote down. So try to read the agreement that generally has quite basic, let's say, ideas, but the language is harder, so that it's not, very nice for someone who read it, but still it can be fully understand if you try to ask and start to ask. And yeah, make sure that you obtain and understand written conditions of entry. This is the different situation than the contract. Make sure that you obtain and understand the written conditions of entry, which you may be asked to agree before sending your artwork to some, I don't know, exhibition, to some festivals, to some art prize or art competition. So when you somehow being a part of some projects, and when your piece of work is shown, just make sure that you understand the rules of showing your art. So that's the basic information. So maybe the regulations or general terms and conditions of the festival is not the most fascinating information, but still you should familiarize with this and try to know the contents, so you would be not surprised what is going on with your work. And for example, when you want to show your work someone, when you give your work to someone to try sell your work, just check the seller's references, and also have a good idea of what you as an artist and your piece of art is worth. That's of course, other detail than the legal one. It's other arrangement, it's financial thing, but still you need to be prepared of any, let's say, area of your activity. And of course, maybe the obvious hint is that if you need, or if you feel uncomfortable in any transaction or in any area, try to, accept educating yourself, maybe find some qualified help that will make your activity more secure. I'm thinking here about the legal counsel or any other legal advice that you may obtain. Okay, so when I say about entering into the art contracts, I may in mind also say and tell you a little bit about the regulations and standards that are typically applied in such kind of contracts. So basically the agreement depends on the type of transaction. That's the general and basic knowledge. If I want to buy the car, I have specific agreement. If I want to just start learning somewhere, I have a specific agreement. If I want to sell my work, I have also the specific agreement that is connected very much with this area of transaction. So I can have like copyright transfer. I could have copyright licensing. I have or I could have gallery or agent contract, influencer contract, and any other contract that may be applied here. In a typical, let's say, agreement or contract content, are more or less the same. So the chapters are, more or less familiar. We are more or less familiar with this. And the most important is that the subject of the agreement, we basically and usually know what special kind of agreement refers to. We have usually the goods description. So when we talk about art, we would this has a piece of art description, for example. We have a copyright notice. Usually we have conditions of cooperation between the parties. And we have a sale price, of course, if this is the selling agreement. We may also have a way of pricing the goods if it will be somehow difficult in the future, or if this area should be somehow arranged between the parties. And we can also put other necessary or business information that is needed, or other informations that the parties or counterparty will just feel it's important here in this matter. So generally, any agreement should be, that's my basic hint, usually should be a matter of negotiation. So every counterparty of agreement contract has a right to draft it, amend it, or to modify the documents. And it is working like that in every jurisdiction, in every country. And it doesn't mean then you have to agree on just, paper that you got from some other party, from your counterparty, giving you the agreement and asking you for signing it. It's just a way of negotiating, or is just a way of behavior, but doesn't mean that it's just some certain legal procedure or a way of conduct. I also advised clients to be more active in this matter, in this area, and to contribute and to try to work with this field with other party.
We have 9 minutes left.
Okay, 9 minutes. Oh, it's not much. Okay. I'll try to quickly tell you about other things that I thought might be important here. When we talk about law and art, we feel that we want to also say about infringement of the law of the artist. We are aware and sure that infringement may apply, directly to an author's basic entitlement, or this infringement may apply to the contract. And copyright infringement, for example, usually occurs if there is an authorized use of an exclusive right of the owner, but also, and it might be like when the copyright work is reproduced or distributed or performed without permission, or some other misuse in internet may happen. So that is a situation where the copyright infringement occurs. But breach of contract may occur also when some binding agreement is existing and it's fails to deliver some terms of agreement. So we also can talk about infringement in this situation. And the possible remedies when some infringement will occur. In both cases of violation of the rights, your personal rights, or a contract, if you entered in some kind of contract, is general. I think these regulations may vary in different countries, but usually more or less it looks like the same. So you can call for the termination of infringement, and you can of course start or launch suing the infringer. So you can start the court procedure in every time, and also the pre-judicial phase, as well as the course of judicial procedure. You might have solutions for restoring your rights and your money damages, for example. And depending on the situation, if there is a possible legal infringement of the rights of agreement, it will be necessary to determine the applicable law. But I think that's the specific information, and the lawyer will handle with this one, of course. And having serious problems with, I don't know, infringement or agreement may direct you on the searching a remedy that you could, I'm thinking about legal remedy here or legal help. So you can try to find not only in this general market, but you can also find some nonprofit organization that will help you in this matter, so that your legal fee will be lower or even zero less. Yeah. Oh, I just I just finished my presentation right now. Yes. This is more or less I wanted to give you this evening. And if you have, or you would like to ask some questions here, or give me any hints to prepare you some, I don't know, specific information for the future, just let me know.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Paulina, for giving this presentation. It was extremely useful, very, very useful. What we see at Victory Art is that many times artists do not read contracts, they are not protected in any way, they do not have insurances, and it just causing so many issues. So for me, I have one question. If I'm a beginner artist, and
Yes.
I do not know how to start, what to do, like anything, what is the first thing in, like, from a legal perspective and legal aspect I should do?
Okay. Well, probably if I would be the beginner, I would start to search about if the beginner would like to enter in some, transaction regarding the law aspects in a art industry, I would start to search about the information probably in the internet, if that person would have possibility and will be able to contact with lawyers. That would be the perfect situation. But I would advise to think what kind of activity it would be. Of course, because when you wanted to start selling your artworks in the internet, or when you, for example, would like to start the exhibition, I would think about this certain areas and try to, contact with that person that is on the other side and ask about conditions of cooperations. I will ask about the agreement. I will read it. I will read the agreement if it's prepared. And I will also try to write down the decisions that are made between the artist, the beginner, and between the other side. If they decided in some ways, if they, for example, agree on some certain price, they should try to, even though if they do not have a written agreement, maybe have some information in the in the email or any other way of communication, that the artist will be sure what the conditions of cooperations are.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing. If someone else has question, feel free to unmute your microphones or write it in the chat. I would love to as well say that Paulina is going to be with us again in 2 weeks on Thursday, I believe it's going to be as well. And she's going to talk about art on the internet and all the things you should think about. At the same time, I would love to say that next year we will be offering as well free consultancy sessions to artists. So if you're an artist who is interested in maybe asking some legal questions, or you're interested about maybe collaborations or anything, you will be able to have consultancy as well with Paulina. So definitely
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And definitely message us at curator@victoryart.eu for more questions. And if you do not have any questions at this point, I would love to say thank you so much, Paulina, for tonight. It was very helpful. It was very useful. This seminar is going to be published next year on our website. So this is a unique opportunity to actually see it. And yes, well, you have a lot to look forward in the upcoming few weeks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I look forward for the next meetings, of course.
Yes, us too, and about all the knowledge you're going to share with us. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you very much. You too. Have a great evening.